Welcome to everyone for attending this Belgacom BCloud session. I'm Jurgen Verelst, a network engineer at Easy Networking. This webinar will show you how to migrate an on-premise Exchange server or SBS server, in this case Small Business Server 2011, to Office 365. We will use the domain easybelgacom.be and demo the steps to take. Afterwards, you will receive an email containing links to the manual accompanying this session, together with other useful documents. Furthermore, a contract will be included, so you as a partner will be able to purchase discounted migration with licenses through Belgacom. I've broken down the session in 6 steps. First of all, tips on the pre-sales process. Then what to do before the migration, setup of Office 365 itself, setup of MigrationWiz, the tool we're going to use to do the migration, what to do on the migration day itself, and last but not least, cleaning up the leftovers. We'll start by making the sale. Use the Office 365 internally. It's easier to sell what you know. Install the free partner seats and show customers you use it yourself. Especially Outlook and Outlook Web App, the integration of SharePoint and SkyDrive, and for larger companies you can show what they can do with Link and meetings. The numbers tell the tale. Get informed. Don't use a fixed quote if you don't know the customer's environment. Provide the customer with a questionnaire, which will be included in the email you get afterwards. Fill it in together or let the on-site IT guy do it for you. If any issues arise, quote them separately, like Windows XP machines or old Outlook versions that are incompatible with Office 365. If you are aware of corrupt mailboxes, exclude them from the migration fee. You'll spend a lot more time migrating those mailboxes than with the ones that migrate nicely. And afterwards provide a contract for support after the migration. Oversell and go to hell? Well, don't be greedy. Sell what they need now, because it's an online platform. You can easily add more seats or delete seats and phase what they want later. It might be that requirements change of what the customer wants in quite a short time period. They might want to use Outlook and Exchange Online in the beginning and maybe later on SkyDrive or SharePoint integration. So we're in the pre-migration task right now. The questionnaire you have filled in together with the customer or the customer has filled it in themselves contain a lot of information you need for the migration to succeed. First of all, the upload bandwidth of the internet connection the customers has right now. It might be that it's an ADSL line where the upload is very limited. Then you also have to expect that the migration from the small business server to the cloud will be much longer than when you have, for example, an Explore line 10 megabit up and down. Make sure the Exchange server is okay. Has it been managed by a partner, or do you manage it yourself? Then you will know if there are any problems on that part. Make sure Outlook Web Access works. Outlook Web Access is the thing we're going to use for the migration. If Outlook Web Access doesn't work, MigrationWiz won't be able to get the mailboxes from the SBS server. Together with the document you send to the customer, the questionnaire, you can also send a Excel template where the users can be filled in with all the addresses and the aliases. You will need that later on. Also list all the OSs and Outlook version they're in use right now. Not only Outlook, but also the mobile machines they're using to sync with Exchange. It's also very important to know if any add-ons have been installed on Exchange or the SBS server. I'm thinking of GFI Mail Archiver or a sync tool that syncs contacts between different mailboxes and stuff like that, remember you can't install stuff like that on Office 365. And also very important is who is hosting the DNS records for the domain at the moment. Be aware that one.com and a few others are not able to add TXT records or service records, which will be a problem later on when you try to verify the domain or create the Office 365 DNS records. Getting all the clients up to specs, do that before the migration, not a couple of days before. Well before start making all the computers up to spec for Office 365. Upgrade Outlook. Remember that Office 2013 won't install on Windows XP, and we recommend not using Office 2007 or 2008 for Macs. Make sure you use 2011 for that. Check the mobiles. What I mean with that is make sure that you know how many different mobiles there are in use. That will make it a lot easier if you want to create manuals so that users themselves can change providers, or even if you have to do them, then you know how many different models you'll have to make sure to do. 1 month before the migration, we send an email to all users stating that there's going to be a migration on what date. Mention the OS and Office versions that are compatible, so they know which of their clients is up to spec and which one needs to be brought in to be upgraded. Mention the time frame from when you will start the migration until the migration day itself, and what you expect from them. Do they need to change the Outlook and mobile clients to the new Office 365, or have you planned a day that everybody needs to come in with all their devices so you can set them up? Make sure that's well known with the clients. Okay, getting Office 365 set up. With that email you will be able to log into Office 365, provide your email address or separate email address and telephone number, so whenever you misplace or don't remember your password anymore, you can get your temporary password sent to that separate email address. Let's go in and check that we can log in and check the licenses. I'm already logged in at the moment as a partner for that domain, but you can also log in with that separate email and password you've got from the email from BCloud. So first things first, we'll have to check if the licenses we've ordered are the ones that we've actually got, because if there's a problem with ordering and you get a different seat or plan in Office 365, if you don't check this and you start migrating, it's really hard to change that to another plan at the moment. So you better check the licenses you've ordered if they're actually active on Office 365. So at setup, you can do the quick setup or extended setup, but I'm going to go through the quick way and click on domains and add a vanity domain. So we'll just use another one. Once this has been created, you need to confirm that you own that domain. Otherwise you could just add any domain you want, even if you don't have the rights to use it. And Office 365 asks you to do this using DNS records. I'm going to go for the general instructions. If one of your providers is in the list, you can use them. I'll go for the general instructions, and what we need to do is either create a TXT record or an MX record in the DNS record of that domain. I would go through for the TXT record, as some DNS providers don't allow you to add an invalid.outlook.com MX record. So what we need to do is get this as a TXT record in the DNS settings. You can forward this information. They've even created an email type template so that you can just forward it to whoever is managing the DNS settings. If it's Belgacom, you can just send this part of the email to dnsmaster@belgacom.be. If you do it yourself, you can just copy and paste it in your DNS panel. So once that's done, we'll have to click on verify, wait a little bit before the TXT record has been added. It can take up to a couple of minutes to be active. So if you click on verify, I'm not going to do it before for Belgacom, Easy Belgacom 6, because I don't use it, of course, but I've created another one, easybelgacom.be, which already has been verified. Once the domain has been verified, it will show up in the list here, like ours does here. So what's next? We validated the domain and it's proven that we own it. We need to go to adding the other Office 365 records, and you can find them in the same domain list here. You just select the domain you want to manage, click on DNS settings, and then it's a little bit hidden, but it's here. View DNS settings, and all these DNS settings, DNS records have to be created, except the MX record, which is shown here. We're only going to change that after migration has been finished on the migration day. So create all the records except MX record here. Once that's done, you can click on verify, and again the wizard will show if you have added them correctly. Now when those DNS records have been created at your DNS panel or have been sent to dnsmaster@belgacom or skynet.be, they will not be active right away. You'll have to take some time before that is all active. So while waiting, we can create users in Office 365. We can either do that by inputting them manually by clicking on the plus sign. Here it is. By clicking on the plus sign here, you can see I've created a couple of them already, and type in just any name you have on the SBS server. Or what I've created before is a CSV file where all the users are added. The CSV file can be downloaded here. With a blank CSV file, and there's even a sample CSV file, so you know where you need to put anything in. So I created it before, and this is my CSV file. It just is the first name, the login name, and the first name. The login name will be the same as the email address here. So we've selected that CSV file, and now we're going to add it. As you can see, 4 has been added and has passed the verification, so we can go ahead now and click next. We need to select the location where Office 365 will be used. This has to do with, in some countries, not everything of Office 365 has been allowed. Select the user is going to use, and we can send an email to ourselves with all the usernames and passwords. We will get a list here as well, which I'm going to copy. Right, so now these users, Mike has been created, Reese, Julie, and a fourth one which I can't remember at the moment. So some time has passed and we can now verify our DNS records in Office 365. So we can go back in, click on domains, the domain we want to verify, and now we have to click on setup in progress. Select what you want to do with that domain. I'm going to select exchange a link for SharePoint Online. You need to go through the wizard again. These are the DNS settings we had to add, and then we can click on done, go and check. A message will pop up that the verification has succeeded and they will become active. This has been still in setup, but that's for demo purposes. So once your Office 365 records have been verified, we can go to the next step, and that is the user already have been created, and then we go to MigrationWiz. Now, what is MigrationWiz? Well, MigrationWiz is an online tool that will enable you to migrate virtually any email system to Office 365. Of course, we're most interested in Small Business Server, which is in the list of supported systems, and you only need to have access through Outlook Web Access. You don't have to have separate hardware to do the migration, and the licenses per mailbox are about €5 per license if you buy them through the contract with Belgacom. In order to have the contract with Belgacom, you need to sign, scan and send it to Gilbert. Also send it through mail to the address shown here, and afterwards you will be able to order it through SEEP. When you order Office 365 licenses, you can go to Partner Special and also order the MigrationWiz licenses. What do we need to do in for the MigrationWiz to work? Well, we need to create a migration user in the Small Business Server. That will enable us to access all the mailboxes on the Small Business Server, and then it will be able to migrate it to Office 365. We need to have a user which has rights to all mailboxes, and we can't use the admin users which are already in Small Business Server, as they will by default have no access to mailboxes itself. So we'll go into the Small Business Server and we'll create a new user. Just go into the Exchange Management console of the SBS server, click on Mailbox on the recipient configuration, right click there, select New Mailbox, a new user mailbox. We'll call it MigrationWiz. I've already created a few, so I'm going to use MigrationWiz 7. And click Next. So the user we're going to use is MigrationWiz here. It has been created. Now we need to set up permissions on that mailbox. There's an easy PowerShell command for this, and we're going to use the PowerShell that will go over through all mailboxes and then add permissions rights, full access to the MigrationWiz user. This script is also included in the manual we receive at the end. So it went over all the mailboxes and it selected MigrationWiz, as you can see here. Full mailbox rights on each and every user. So we've created a migration user and give it all give it full mailbox access on all mailboxes we want to migrate. Then we need to set up Office 365 itself. There you will need to select a user. If you don't have an admin user with a mailbox, it needs to be a user with an actual mailbox. When we have a customer with 10 users, we have only 10 licenses, or we sell them only 10 licenses. So we need to select one of those users as an admin in the time we need to do the migration. So let's jump in Office 365 again. Let's use Chris, which is normally a normal user, but for the time being we're going to give him admin rights by selecting it here as a global admin and click on Save. To check if we have successfully made Chris an admin on Office 365, it's best to log in with that user in Office 365. Oops. And once you see this admin tab, you're sure that he's an admin. So we've checked that, and then we go further. And we need to create a connector. The connector is going to be the link between the small business server on premise and Office 365 in the cloud. So let's go to MigrationWiz. We'll need to create a connector, give it a name, the license, what's the information of the source server, and what's the information on the destination server. I've already created a connector, and I'll show you the settings there. So project name Easy Belgacom, commercial license. We have an Exchange Server 2003 Plus. It's an SBS 2011, so it's newer than Office Exchange Server 2003, with the URL where Outlook Web Access resides at. Our MigrationWiz user and the password. So this will enable the connector to get into the SBS server and access all mailboxes. And on the destination side, we've used Office 365, chris@easybelgacom.be and the password, and we've checked access using admin credentials. What else we need to do is a set impersonation, which we need to go into the advanced options, click on Exchange Server, and then select Use Impersonation to authenticate on the destination, so that Chris, the user we've used in Office 365, will be impersonating the users where the mailboxes are going to be migrated for. And what we see here also is set only email up to 90 days. Why we need to do that? Well, we're going to set up a filter that will migrate everything which is older than 90 days for email, and we will only select email altogether. Why is that? Well, MigrationWiz is not really a synchronization tool, it's a copy tool. So it will copy all the information from the source system to the destination only once. If afterwards you open a contact to the source system and change the phone number, the next time MigrationWiz will pass over all the mailboxes, it will not change the contact you've changed, because there's a flag now that says it's already been migrated or already been copied. So what we need to do is set up a method that will enable us to copy almost 95% of all the data, which in a normal mailbox is email, and is email that which is older than 90 days. So for this first pass, we will use emails, only emails, and even emails only which are older than the 90 days. How do we set that up? Is go back into the advanced options, go to filtering, and set up a date from whatever date to something which is older than 3 months, and now it's the 11th, so it's about, yeah, and this is in US time format, so it's the other way around, 9/18, and save. It has to be 09. So now our connector has been set up. We need to add the mailboxes we want to migrate. Again, in MigrationWiz, we go to easy-belgacom. You'll see I've already migrated user or users that have been added, and we'll add mailboxes. You can do this also one by one, like this, or import them in a couple of different ways. There's a manual entry, which we've done before, a copy paste, or with a file upload like the CSV file in Office 365, but I'm going to use this form now. You notice that the source email and password, or the username and password, and the destination username and password have been grayed out. That's because we're using the impersonation. So for the new users, it's mike@belgacom.be. It's the same thing here. And the last one is Rob. Okay, import. And now we've seen that Reese, Rob, Julie, and Mike have been added to the list and have not been submitted yet. We've done that. Then go to the next slide. We're going to do a test sync. The test sync will give us the opportunity to see if the source and destination credentials are working and what the time it needs to do the test sync was for one mailbox. We're going to select the mailbox with the user with the biggest mailbox, perform the sync, and then we can calculate how long it took for, well, let's say if the mailbox was 4 gigabytes, how long it took to do the test sync, and then we can have an idea of what it will take for all mailboxes. So let's say Mike has the biggest mailbox on the SBS server. You're going to select it here and click on Migrate Mailbox. So Mike is now submitted for migration. It will take some time before it changes to migrating. So now it's queued for migration, authenticating, and this might take a little while. In the meantime, I can show you that MigrationWiz is very useful when something goes wrong. You'll have like Chris here, you see that it has failed. You can click on Learn Why, and you'll be given the reason why it's not working and change whatever is needed. it seemed that this user Chris, which I've used before, I added it to the admins on Office 365, but it seemed it took some time before it was enabled actively, and that's why that I got this error at that time. After that time, it started working, of course. If you still can't find the reason why it went wrong, you can always use the Contact Us page with the description of the email or the error that you got, and the guys will quite quickly respond to you. So even in the weekends or at night, which is quite nice. Going back to the list, we see that the migration for Mike has failed. Let's find out why. Ah, I see. I've used belgacom.be instead of easybelgacom. So we'll go back into Mike and change it to easybelgacom. And here as well. Save. And start the migration again. And after a while, it's already a success. You can click on the mailbox settings so you could see what kind of data has been copied. Because this mailbox has many emails inside, you won't see any information here, but you can see that it has completed to migrate 13 folders. I just selected another mailbox I've migrated before, and you can see here that you can see what kind of data has been migrated, what the time was for uploading it, and how many items have been processed. So we've selected the user with the biggest mailbox and performed the test sync. So now we know that the source credentials for MigrationWiz and destination credentials for Chris, which we've made admin, have worked, and we can now calculate what the upload speed would be for all mailboxes. Then the initial sync, we'll perform that well before the migration day. It's the same sync where we will migrate everything or copy everything which is older as 90 days for email, and the reasons why I've already mentioned before, except the identify corrupt mailboxes. If a mailbox is corrupt, we can find it out here, and MigrationWiz will tell us if a mailbox has been corrupted. Now, the final sync, or the initial sync we're doing so that the final sync will take less time. If in the initial sync 95% of all email, which is all in the 90 days, have been already migrated, then the final sync will only need to migrate the last 90 days of email, all the contacts, the tasks, and the other items in your mailbox. So we will now perform the initial sync for all mailboxes. So we need to go back to MigrationWiz, select all the others we have not migrated before, and do bulk action, migrate mailboxes. It will deduct your licenses, and now it's submitted for migration. This of course will take more time, and I will pause the video to speed it up a little bit. So now we do see a progress bar, how far it's progressing. If we click on, you can see that 13 folders have already been created, and it's now adding the data to it. Okay, all the other ones have been successful except Julie, which is still busy. So now all the ones we've selected have been successful. The 2 others have failed. I will keep them there so I can show them in new demos. So back to the deck. We've done a successful initial sync. All email that was older than 90 days have been successfully migrated to Office 365, and we can go to the next slide, the migration day itself. There we need to ask ourselves, has the last sync been a long time ago? Maybe you should do another sync for the 90 days. And the next step would be to change the MX records. The MX record is the one that decides where email is going to flow to. At this moment, email is going to flow to the SBS server still. On the migration day, we will change this to Office 365. Office 365 only uses one MX record. So if you go back to our domain properties in Office 365, you will see they use only one MX record with priority of 0, which is the highest one. But most commonly our small business server will now use 2 or maybe more MX records. So we need to go back to our DNS register or send an email to them stating that please change whatever MX record is configured right now, remove them, and only add the one Office 365 has set us to use. If we only add the Office 365 MX record to it and don't delete the older ones, then some mail will come to Office 365, but others will still be delivered on the old SBS server, which we do not want. So make sure that whenever they change it, you also ask them or check what the MX records at that time are, and there should only be one in there, this one. You need to wait a little while before the MX change has been picked up by all the servers on the internet which are sending email to you. So check once in a while if a new email is coming in on the new Office 365 mailboxes, and we can try that by going in to a user's mailbox, and we can also check if the migration of the initial sync has succeeded. So now we are logged into the mailbox of Raf, and you can see that we have email there. I'm going to send a new email to him. So Raf, easy. No typos there. I will just have to wait a little while before it will show up here. There you go. So we now know that the MX has changed normally and successfully, so we can go ahead with the next step. Is providing all the users with a welcome letter which states what their login name is for Office 365, the link to the portal, and what the password is. The first step in your welcome letter should always be go into Office 365 and change the password, because you will all be given a temporary password. If you've of course given them all a fixed password, you can state the password there as well. Now we need to make sure that the new Office 365 will be connected to the Outlook, or Outlook to Office 365, and there's an easy way to do it in Windows. Is if you press the Windows key plus R, you will get a new profile or a profiles list, and you can create a new profile there. So let us try that as well. And type Outlook / profiles. I will get this pop-up box, click New, Office 365, and then I'll get the normal add account wizard. As you can see here, Outlook is trying to connect to my on-premise small business server. So that's the no-go here. If it tries to connect to the SBS server again, we need to set our DNS settings to 8888. This will circumvent the internal DNS, which is pointing me now to the old SBS server and point me to Office 365 correctly. So we're going to the properties of my network connection. State I'm going to use a fixed one. Okay, okay, close it. Cancel this. Windows R again to start the command prompt. And now I just can type in my name. Oh, I'm going to use rough. Click next. So now it's not requesting the settings from our internal DNS server, but from the Google DNS, which I've used, 8888. You can also use the DNS service of Belgacom, of course, but 8888 is a bit shorter. Okay, I'm logged in. Finish. Okay. Outlook's opening. And once it opens, it will show you all the email older than 90 days and email that has already been delivered to the Office 365 at this moment. So it will start syncing up, which is doing it now. And we can go on with the next step. Our mobiles, of course. Most of the mobiles we've used, it's easier to remove the Exchange or the Active Sync account and create a new one with the new settings. It should all work with auto discovery at the moment, so it's normally just a case of typing in your email address and your password. Then now we have to perform the final sync, where we will change the connector so it will now sync all items, and we will also remove the 90 days filter, so it will sync all the email until today. The MXs have changed, so normally no new items should be delivered on the Office 365 on the small business server, and people should not create new contacts or meetings in the SBS server anymore. So it should be all in Office 365. So let's go to Migration Risk and change the connector. So here we're in the connector again. Now we'll have to select all the items here and also remove the filter or type in a date in the future. And do the final thing by selecting all the users here. I'm going to use for this demo. it again. This should take significantly less time than the first sync or the initial sync of all the mailboxes, as now we only need to sync all the email which is younger than 90 days and all the other items like calendar, contacts, tasks and whatever. Okay, so all the mailboxes we've selected have been successfully migrated. Let's just check one of them out. Frank, okay, no errors. And there has been more information that has been migrated. Let's do the same for Raf, which is a new mailbox. Also no errors. And let's check Raf's Outlook. And here it now shows that not only the older email was there and the newest one, but also the ones in between for the 90 days. We've set the filter. So back to the deck. We've changed the connector, removed the filter, performed the last pass. You can do 10 passes for the licenses you can buy through Belgacom. So I think we've now used 3 for one mailbox and 2 for all the others, and we've also checked the results. Okay, now at the last section of this migration session is wrapping things up. What do we need to do afterwards? Don't do it immediately or right away after the migration. Leave it there. You can leave the connector there for 90 days. And after those 90 days, the connector will remove itself from MigrationWiz. But we need to do some other stuff on the Office 365 and Small Business Server. So in Office 365, we selected a user to be admin. We need to revoke those rights. We've used Chris, and we'll have to go back into Office 365 and remove that right. It's not that so back to users, select Chris, settings, and no admin role anymore, and click save. And we also have to remove the Office, the MigrationWiz user we've created on the SBS server. Just remove it and all the settings will be removed as well. And then the last thing is uninstall Exchange Server on your SBS, on your on-premise environment. If it's an SBS, just leave Exchange on it. It might you might run into trouble if you try to uninstall Exchange there, and just stop the services of Exchange. So that was the migration session. If you have any questions, you can email support@easy.be. If you want us to assist you, you can email to sales@easy.be, and my link address is jurgen.verhelst@easy.be. I hope you've enjoyed this webinar, and I hope to see you soon in future sessions. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.